Hello everyone, welcome back to Midslit. This is Midulaj. In this video, I am going to discuss about organs of speech. So, welcome back to the world of linguistics. Let's begin. Various organs are involved in modifying the airstream into speech sounds. They are known as the organs of speech. They have functions other than the production of speech. So, the organs involved in the production of speech can be divided into three. First one is respiratory system, second one is phonatory system, and third one is the articulatory system. So, let us look in deep. The respiratory system of the human body includes the trachea or windpipe, the lungs, and the lung muscles which help the lung walls to expand and contract. Their primary function is to breathe in air for the existence of life. The respiratory system supplies the source of energy for the production of speech sounds. As the result of the contraction of the lung walls, air from the lungs is pushed out. This air which passes out through the windpipe is utilized in the production of speech sounds. So, these are the three organs included in respiratory system: the lungs, the muscles of the chest, and the windpipe. So, the lungs perform the action of breathing or respirate. So, the respiration includes exhalation and inhalation. The lungs provide the source of energy for our vocal activity by this airstream. So, the airstream mechanism is called pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. Here, pulmonic means lungs. So, aggressive airstream means that airstream goes out of the lungs, and ingressive airstream mechanism means that the airstream comes in to the lungs. So, that is all about lungs. Let us move. Next organ is the muscles of the chest. So, the lungs perform respiration under the function of the muscles of chest. Here, the muscles of chest which help the lung walls to expand and contract. Gradually, it creates a pressure inside the lungs which help to push out the air from the lungs. Third one is the windpipe. So, this air passes through the windpipe. The windpipe also called as the trachea. Second system is the phonatory system. The air from the lungs passed out through the glottis into the oral cavity and passes off the lips as speech. The air coming out of the lungs gets phonation or voice in the larynx. The larynx or voice box is a prismatic framework of cartilage connected by means of ligaments. It is visible on the throats of men and is commonly called Adam's apple. The vocal cords, two lips-like organs made of ligaments and elastic tissues, are contained in the larynx. The phonatory quality of sounds depends on the position of the vocal cords. And glottis. Glottis is the aperture between the vocal cords. The speech sounds produced with the glottis wide open are called voiceless or breathed sounds. When the vocal cords are wide apart and glottis is open and air passes freely through it, there is no vibration of the vocal cords. Then the sound is naturally voiceless. The English sounds p, t are voiceless sounds. If the vocal cords vibrate when the air passes through them, then the sound will be voiced. In the production of voiced sounds, the vocal cords are loosely held together, and as the air from the lungs is pushed out, they vibrate, producing sounds. Examples are the English sounds b, t, b and d. It is in the vocal tract that the air coming out from the lungs gets modulated. So, if we close our ears with the palms and produce a voiced sound, we can hear a buzzing noise. In the case of voiceless sound, there will be no buzzing voice. So, let us look which are the organs included in the phonatory system in detail. So, first one is larynx. You can see the picture of larynx. Larynx is a bony box like structure in the front part of the throat and the upper part of trachea. It is known as Adam's apple too. So, larynx is also called Adam's apple. Second organ is vocal cords are pair of lip-like structure inside the larynx. These cords are placed horizontally from front to the back, joined at the front and separated at the back. So, therefore, they can have a large number of positions. You can see the two images of closed vocal cords and opened vocal cords. So, there are three important positions of vocal cords. First one is vocal cords drawn wide apart. This is the normal position of vocal cords during breathing. So, the airstream can pass freely without setting the vocal cords into vibration and produces voiceless sounds. Example: cat, fat, chat, top, sheet, seat. So, a wide opening is between the vocal cords is called glottis. So, vocal cord തുറന്ന് പിടിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിനുള്ളിലുള്ള ചെറിയ ഗ്യാപ്പ്, ആ ഗ്യാപ്പിനെയാണ്, ഓപ്പൺഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഏരിയനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ഗ്ലോട്ടിസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Second important position of vocal cords is vocal cords held loosely together. The airstream set the vocal cords into vibration and we hear a sound. The sounds that set the vocal cords into vibration are voiced sounds. For example, all vowels and red, men, dead, bed, let, nest, then, jump, zoo, yellow, will. So, we can hear a voice when we produce these words. So, let us move. Third important position of vocal cords. Vocal cords held tightly together. Glottis is closed and no air can escape through it. So, vocal cords are closed and the airstream is stopped completely for a short period of time. Suddenly, the vocal cords drawn apart and produce explosive sounds that is called glottal stop, like mid-cough, lip, shut, sick. So, these are the three important positions of vocal cords. Let us move. Third one is the articulatory system. Human vocal apparatus is the articulatory system for the speech mechanism. Articulation is the bringing together or near each other of two organs in the productions of speech. The variation in the modulation of air column in the vocal cavity results in the variation in the quality of sounds produced. Such variation is affected with the help of the articulators, active and passive in the oral cavity. tongue and the lower lip are the active articulators, whereas the upper lip, teeth and the entire roof of mouth form the passive articulators. The various positions of the active articulators in relation to the passive articulators result in different types of sounds. Speech sounds are classified according to the place of articulation, where the articulators meet, and the manner of articulation, how the air is pushed out. So, the human articulatory system consists of the pharynx, the mouth cavity or oral cavity and the nasal cavity. The air that is breathed out of the lungs passes through the larynx into pharynx, and from there it is pushed out through the mouth or the nasal passage. And the roof of mouth comprises the teeth ridge, the hard palate, the soft palate and uvula. The hard convex part immediately behind the upper front teeth is called the teeth ridge or the alveolar ridge or the alveolum. The hard concave area behind the teeth ridge is the hard palate. You can touch your roof of mouth and you can understand where it is located, where hard palate is located. The soft part of the roof coming immediately after the hard palate is called the soft part of the roof coming immediately after the hard palate is called the soft palate or velum. At the extreme end of the soft palate, there is a fleshy finger-like structure called the uvula. Using the tip of the tongue, we can feel the teeth ridge, hard palate and part of the soft palate. It is possible to raise or lower the soft palate. It is raised to touch the back wall of the pharynx. The nasal passage will be closed and air escapes through the mouth only. Such sounds are called oral sounds. For example, the sounds in the English words cat, rabbit, develop, etc. While articulating certain sounds, the air escapes through the nose only with the oral cavity closed. Such sounds are called nasal sounds. For example, the first sounds in nail, mat and the last sound in king. So, it is m, n, ng sounds. So, in the production of certain sounds, the nasal passage is open and the oral passage is too blocked too. In that case, air escapes through the mouth and nose as well. Sounds produced with air escaping through the nose and the mouth are called as nasalized sounds. So, there are sounds like oral sounds, nasal sounds and nasalized sounds. Nasalization usually occurs in the immediate environment of nasal consonants. The vowel in the word man is a nasalized vowel. So, strongly nasalized sounds are not used by speakers of received pronunciation generally. So, these organs of speech make articulate speech sounds. Let's move. So, I told you about active and passive articulators. Active articulators are those organs of speech that move from their position of rest to articulate against other organs of speech that do not or cannot move, which are called passive articulators. So, active articulators can move towards the passive articulators. For example, in producing t, d, n, s, the tip and blade of the tongue move from their position to the alveolar ridge. So the tip and the blade of the tongue are active articulators, and the alveolar ridge is the passive articulator. So the active articulators are mostly located in the lower jaw, and the passive articulators are mostly in the upper jaw. First organ consisted in articulatory system is the lips. The upper and lower lips have important role in producing certain speech sounds, especially in producing vowels. So you can see the examples. There are various movements of lips. First movement is closing the lips and then releasing the closure abruptly. For example, put, boot, p, b sounds another. Second one is closing the lips and making nasal consonants. For example, men, m sound. Third one is protrude and rounded syllables. Boot, boot. Next, fourth movement is spread. Beds, beds. Fifth is neutral, not spread, not rounded. About. So these are the movements of the lips. Let's move. Next one is the teeth. Certain consonants are produced with the help of teeth. Dental sounds, there are some dental sounds. Movements, we can see various movements of teeth. First one is putting the tongue in between the front teeth, which are called interdental fricatives. For example, think and that. Th, sound. Second one is pressing the lower lip with the upper front teeth, which are called labiodental fricatives. F, v sound. Fan, van, f, f. So dental sounds are th, th, and labiodental sounds are f, v. Third important organ is the alveolar ridge. It is located just behind the upper front teeth, and consonantal sounds like t, d, n, l, s, z are produced here. So there are various movements of the alveolar ridge. Tongue tip or blade touches the alveolar ridge. For example, l, n. Next movement is making a complete closure by the tip of the tongue and the alveolar ridge, followed by a sudden release of the closure. For example, t, d. And third movement is narrowing the passage of the air at the alveolar ridge and forcing the air out through the passage. S, z sounds another. So let's move. Fourth one is the hard palate. The hard bony surface of the roof of the mouth is called the hard palate, which is immediately after alveolar ridge. It is not movable. So the front part of the tongue moves towards the hard palate. Is the only movement is the, for example, y sound. Yes, yes. So y sound ആണത് അവിടെ ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നത്. Fifth one is the soft palate or velum. The soft palate and a movable part of the roof of mouth immediately after the hard palate. So there are different movements. Velum drop down and the back of the tongue makes a closure with velum, which is called vela sound. K, k. So there are two velar sounds in English. It's k and g. Velum rises itself and make a closure with the wall of pharynx, which is called velic closure, and thus produce the sounds g, and for example it's go. So there is velaric closure and velic closure. For example of velic closure is G, and velaric closure is K. Sixth, the uvula. It is small, fleshy, pendant structure at the very end of the soft palate. So there is a movement like the back of the tongue articulates with uvula and produce Q sound. K sound ആണ് ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നത്. Seventh one is the tongue. It is the most important single organs of speech. Even in many languages, the word tongue means language too. It is flexible and can make a large number of gestures to produce speech sounds. So it has different parts. Extreme end is tip, then blade, then front of the tongue and back of the tongue, and fifth is rims. So these are the different parts of the tongue. So the tip is when the tongue is the state of the rest, it is the part that it is lying behind the lower front teeth. The extreme end of the tongue is the tip. The blade is lying the opposite side of the alveolar ridge, and the front it faces the hard palate, and the back is on the opposite side of the soft palate, and the rims, they are the edges of the tongue. Extreme edge ആണ് the rims എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. So there are different types of movements. Any part of tongue can be moved to produce speech sounds. The tip and the blade make a contact with the alveolar ridge. We can produce sounds like t, d, n. And the front of the tongue may be raised towards the hard palate. We can produce y, e sounds. So the back of the tongue makes a contact with the soft palate. We can produce the sounds k, g. So next one is the pharynx. It is like a tube just above the larynx and before uvula. Its top is divided in two parts. One part goes to oral cavity and another goes to nasal cavity. You can see the picture how the pharynx is structured. Pharynx is divided into two parts, and one part goes to oral cavity and another goes to nasal cavity. Ninth one is the glottis. It is a space between the vocal cords. I told you earlier, vocal cords is the gap between, the glottis is the gap between vocal cords. So with a rapid closing, the opening of the glottis, the airstream traps behind it, then with a sudden release of the air makes glottal stop sounds. For example, matter and butter. Oral and nasal cavities. The air is pushed out. The air is pushed out from the lungs and travels through the mouth, which are called oral cavity, or through the nose, which is called nasal cavity. So you can see the picture of nasal passage of air and oral passage of air. State of soft palate. So here you can see the state of soft palate when it is raised and lowered. So if soft palate is raised, nasal passage will be blocked and oral sounds produced. If the soft palate is lowered, nasal passage is open, and there are two possibilities: oral passage is blocked or oral passage is also open. So if the oral passage is blocked, the nasal sounds will be produced, and oral passage is also open, nasalized sounds produced. So this is the three state of the soft palate. So that's all about soft palate. So this is the lecture on various organs of speech. So thank you. See you in next video. Bye bye.